One of the most common areas that I see in the IELTS writing from my students is actually spelling. I try to encourage people to spell correctly with everything. However, if you have some small doubt with a word, it's actually better that you skip the word and try and choose another one. Don't try and outdo yourself. Here are some of the most common spelling errors that I've come across. The first one being double letters. The second being homophones, which are two words that sound exactly the same. Silent letters, spelling rules that don't usually apply, and problems with suffixes, and using your own language and slang. So how do you improve it? Well, pretty much you need to read a lot. People who read a lot tend to spell best. Spelling is really looking at an activity. The more you use words and the more that you see the words, the more likely you are able to spell them. You need to see patterns. English spelling is not entirely mad or crazy. There are certain patterns and it helps to recognize the most common ones. You need to write down words. I've always suggested that you keep your own vocabulary book. It seems very obvious, but spelling is largely a habit. If you write words down, you're more likely to learn to spell them. Why? Well, reading may be good, but it is passive. Writing is even better for learning because it's active. You're physically doing an activity. It's not a bad idea to just write down the words 4 or 5 times. It's a bit boring, but maybe try and write them into some sentences. You need to record your mistakes and test yourself. Different people make different mistakes, and that's why an IELTS tutor is probably my best advice. You want to know what your mistakes are, so make a note of all the spelling mistakes you tend to make and test yourself on them constantly until you get them right. You need to focus on punctuation. One common error is putting commas in where they really don't belong, and people do this all the time. I should say immediately that this is not intended to be a complete guide to the commas, however, just some simple advice. Commas are very tricky to get right, not least because different people say different things, but because punctuation sometimes matters and sometimes doesn't, especially in IELTS writing. It can often help to correct punctuation by itself. Focus your correction and learn the basics. One common problem that I see a lot is that people use commas too often and they put them everywhere. They believe it's better to be safe than sorry. This is wrong. Try and take my advice to just put commas where you're very confident they should be. And that's the end of all of my tips and advice for the IELTS writing. Good luck.